Now, there's been a buzz recently around the audio hobby and YouTubers in general. Topics relating to the unwritten code of ethics, to personal bias and how we treat that when conducting reviews, even down to what a YouTuber does with all of the quote-unquote free gear that is received. Is it okay to sell it? Is that the same thing as getting paid by a company that sent you the gear, therefore saying you took payment to conduct a review? Then we have the sudden influx of collaborations happening within different products, which in turn brings up even more questions of ethics in the hobby. Now, that's quite a bit to unpack, and I just wanted to share my thoughts and also point of view on a couple of these topics. I'll provide chapters as well because the average human attention span doesn't seem to last more than 8 seconds. Personally, I find that to be just a bunch of bull. Okay, a little backstory for those that may care. So if you look, I first joined YouTube back in 2011. So yeah, I've been a lurker for over 2 decades. I first started watching YouTube mostly for music videos, some PC gaming news, info, tech stuff, etc. I had always wanted to be more creative since my main career is definitely not, and gaming was actually the avenue I thought I would go into for YouTube. Then about 10 years ago, I really started heavily getting more into audio. So to make a very long story short, I decided that going in that route would make more sense for me. I watched and mentally took notes on some of my favorite YouTubers in both tech and audio. Then in 2022, I launched my channel after putting together some lighting and a decent camera to start out with. That video was simply about headphone stands. And boy, was that bad. But that's how we learn. That's what I've been doing with each video, and that will never stop. I'd also like to take a minute to talk about that word reviewer. It's not a word I toss around lightly, and in fact, you'll notice I don't refer to myself much as a reviewer or doing reviews. My reasoning is simply because I feel like the word reviewer has this undertone of another term, expert. Now, I'm very careful to make sure to never give the impression that I'm an expert at this hobby, YouTube, or anything really, except, I am an expert at getting destroyed in Elden Ring. I think some people get this idea that if you are doing reviews, you should be considered an expert enough to warrant doing so. That is where my stance goes in a different direction. Now for me, reviewing something is simply just like it sounds. Taking a product, or any tangible thing really, and talking about an experience with it. Whether it's touch and feel, the engineering, the sound impression, and even the emotional response that you get to it. As long as you can explain things in a way that others can benefit learning from, then that is also what a review is. I also feel that specifically the audio hobby is a hobby where anyone can be their own expert. It is such a personal and subjective experience that it's almost impossible to predict another's enjoyment of a product. Almost impossible, because common ground definitely exists. Shared experiences definitely exist. Shared interests definitely exist. It's also been crucial for me to be humble enough to know that I will make mistakes. And I have. Oh, yes, I have. Now, to me, making mistakes are just moments of continued learning. There's no reason to dwell on them, but there is absolute reason to take note and correct moving forward. Now, my style of YouTube is a bit different than others. That is also intended. I haven't done any measurements and really don't intend to in the foreseeable future. Not because I don't believe in them, but simply because there are plenty of others doing them that find more value in it than I do. Now, my system of doing a review is very much related to the experience and emotion I get from a product, while still informing on important parts that matter, such as the feel of the knob or whether a headphone should have a grill or not. It is also to be creative in my own style, which is why I also enjoy doing B-roll of the products that I cover. You see, for me, the presentation is every bit as important as the analysis that I give. And finally, I am someone who enjoys helping others by basically paying it forward. Those YouTubers I mentioned earlier, they paved the way for me. They helped me learn more about the hobby, and that is what I hope to inspire as well. I'd like to think I've at least helped one person get into this hobby that I very much enjoy. Okay, so I think that pretty much describes my reasons of doing YouTube and desire to continue it. That brings me to the next topic, which really involves the ethics of it all. Now, it's true. There will be companies that will send products and then let you keep them. Now, being a small channel doesn't really happen very often, but it still does, especially with more budget-friendly products. Now, I saw a post on Twitter, I refuse to call it X, about this particular topic from Golden Sound. Now, I'm not calling him out at all, just stating for a point of reference as to why I bring this up. I definitely see the angles that some took on it, even to call it basically being paid by a company if they give you a product and then you, in turn, sell it. Here's the thing. I can speak for myself and say that I do not say anything in my review if it is not my own spoken words or written words. Sure, I will thank a company for sending something over to me, but that's just polite and it's honestly what you should do. Still, if I don't enjoy a product, then I'll say so. If I like a product, I'll say so. Me liking or not liking has nothing to do whether or not I'm going to keep it. Case in point, I have a shelf in my office filled with IEMs I have reviewed. Anyone who watches my channel knows I'm not a huge IEM guy. Yes, I have sold off some of them. Yes, I have sold off some pretty cheap since they were given. Now, the money I gained was simply put back into the channel, either to level up my YouTube recording gear or my listening gear that I conduct analysis with. Now, to me, that's my choice. That isn't an admittance of being paid to do a review, or even worse, a positive review. If someone wants to give me something to keep, so be it. But it's never something I have asked for. I have honestly been told before by a company that they appreciated the work I put into my reviews, so go ahead and keep this product, which I believe is why many companies do let reviewers keep products that are sent out to them. You may look at that as a read between the lines scenario of quid pro quo. Now, I do not, however, I just appreciate it and move on. Now, you may not agree with me here, or I don't know, maybe you do. I just think it's important for you to know my stance on it. Now, I can tell you that I've been offered some sort of payment in exchange for my positive thoughts, or to say something specific about a product. And I can tell you, I've either ghosted them or told them that is just not what I stand for. Integrity is very important to me. Now, there is a lot of general accusations that are being thrown around here in the hobby or in the world of YouTube that just honestly rubs me the wrong way. Most of the time, I'm pretty good at just ignoring it and staying in my lane. Then sometimes, I just feel like I need to share my thoughts on all of this, like this video. For now, the thing I want to end with is simply this. YouTube for me is a part-time gig, very part-time. Even so, just doing one video can take up many, many hours. I don't ever get a product in and run through all of my impressions in one day and then spit them out the next. Analysis for me takes a bit of time and focus. I physically write notes on products because that is what helps me truly dissect and understand what information I am trying to retain. Then, along with that, I'll take a couple hours just shooting B-roll of products. Now, I don't have to, but it's that creative part of me that needs to. It's enjoyable and creates this odd bond in a way. It also helps me to connect the story as I tell it on a video. Then I put together my script and shoot the video. Now I wish that was all there was, but then I have to go and edit all of that along with polishing up the audio, still learning on that ironically enough, and putting together a storybook in video form to release to all of you. So as you can imagine, this takes up quite a few hours. Hours that nobody is paying me to do. Hours that take away from family time. Hours that I don't spend working, which is a huge chunk of my time. So if I want to choose to sell a product that was given to me in order to fund something for this channel, that's my choice. Last I checked, I wasn't punching a clock to run my channel. All right, guys, hopefully I didn't take up too much of your time with this. I'd truly love to know your thoughts on all of this, for or against, or just thoughts in general. I love doing this YouTube thing. I love listening to gear, but most of all, I love music. And I love to tell you how this stuff makes me enjoy that music. Even if it means acting like a complete idiot at times, man, I still love it. Now, I do plan on doing a part 2 to all this and talk about the bias and how that affects all of us, but that will be saved for another day. So I thank you all for watching, and with that, I will see you in the next one.